Ryan Savage. Lead
Coach,
us off.
with Gary out tonight, how will you start?
Oh, we'll start with Jalen. Jalen will take his place in the lineup.
And then, with Jalen, we often talk about guys regaining offensive rhythm. How much have you seen him as he's played more minutes and continue to get into the flow, regain his defensive rhythm and continue to make an impact on that?
I mean, he makes such an impact every time he steps in the game. He just has that tenacity, that knack for the basketball, and then his ability to start and continue to be physical without fouling has been great to see.
Jamal, how do you feel now that the trade deadline is behind you guys?
Pardon? I couldn't hear.
How do you feel now that the trade deadline is behind you guys?
I mean, it weighs on everybody a little bit, but I think now that it's gotten past us, we're able to concentrate on the game in front of us.
You mentioned waiting on. Just how did you see the dynamic in the locker room? Maybe you guys feel differently, or just how did you see that dynamic impacted?
Well, I think the guys did a really good job of just taking care of the task at hand, and that was, obviously the first game was New York and the things going on, but the guys have been great in how they respond to everything going on.
With the Nuggets here tonight, obviously Jokic is a matchup nightmare for any team, but just what have you seen from him this season? It seems like he just keeps getting better each year.
What have we not seen from him? I think that's the better question. He just does a tremendous job of facilitating, getting everybody involved, running the break as a big. I mean, obviously he's playing at an MVP type level and just creating so much for his teammates. And again, and at this time he just makes it look easy.
Coach, the team's kind of down at the bottom of the rankings as far as three-point field goal attempts per game. It's not always about volume, but when the team is struggling to make shots like they did Monday night and like they did in the second Philadelphia game, how do you kind of keep the team focused on being confident with that shot and not kind of feeling the weight of soaking attempts, but needing to kind of make some to keep up with other teams that are making them?
Defense. I think that when it's all said and done, you got to hang your hat on the defensive end. You look at the game and we didn't make shots against New York, we didn't make shots against Philly, but we were in both of those games to the end, and that was because of the defensive effort and our level of play.
Hey, Coach, obviously the last time against Denver, the heartbreaker, the Jokic buzzer beater, how much of that is on your minds, on the players' minds as they come to the rematch tonight?
Well, the great part about it, you can learn from it and understand what you'll do different in that situation, and we know that it wasn't just the buzzer beater. It was plays prior to, whether that was offensive rebounds, a missed block out here, missed block out there, free throw shooting. It's all of those things that happen, in the first three quarters that you have to take care of those before you get down to the final stretch.
Coach, obviously, over the last stretch of a few weeks, you guys have been with the positive or around that 500 record. And even with that, there was about a good sophomore slump from Franz Wagner, a good rookie wall from Paolo. What does that say towards the team's ability to sort of come together and use their own talents instead of relying on the two superstars that you guys have on this team and still pull out those wins even when they have rough nights?
Well, you said it, the team's ability to come together. And I think that's so big for this group to understand that each person, plays a big role. Whenever they step on the floor, they got to be ready to go, no matter what's happening within that game.
Anyone else? Kobe? Sorry. Luke? You're next.
I know the trade isn't official, but it's been reported that Mo Bamba has been traded. Just even though you may not be able to comment on the actual trade, just what has he meant to you as a coach or to the organization?
I mean, I'll talk about that later, just because I don't want to go into the details of that. I'm not allowed to go into it. But for what Mo is for us, this team he's always been a special part of this group. His ability to be around the guys, the camaraderie, the togetherness. He presented so much of that, his humor, and then on the court, obviously, his ability to block shots, knock shots down. Those were, big pieces for who he is as a player. But as a young man, watching him grow over the year and a half has been fantastic. And his care factor that I don't think a lot of people recognize. There's so many things that he does behind the scenes for a young man at his age that are very special.
Jamal, I know you touched on it a minute ago, but what is that challenge once it passes and you guys do have to play a game that night instead of having an off day? What is the challenge of trying to get these guys refocused then in a situation like this?
Well, it goes back to the same thing that we've said kind of all year long. We have a job to do. no matter what's going on, whether that's guys being out, whether it's COVID, whether there's, injury, whatever's happening, you have a job to do, we have a job to do. And once you step in between those lines, we understand what we have to do. Focus on the game plan, take care of each other, and play the right way.
I know you can't comment on anything that isn't official, but are you satisfied with the direction that the franchise chose to go in with the trade deadline? In other words, it doesn't seem like the Magic have been too active with this trade deadline.
What I will say to that is, we've constantly talked about growth and having a young core of guys that continue to grow and build together. And the group that we have in here now has continued to show growth. They've continued to play hard for one another, and they'll continue to do that as we keep moving forward.
Everyone good? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Paul.